Have you ever felt there's more to this world than what your eyes can see or your ears can hear? That subtle pull, a gut feeling, a whisper of intuition, guiding you through life without explanation. We grow up learning there are 5 senses: sight, hearing, touch, taste, and smell. They define how we experience reality: solid, measurable, scientific. But what if that's only part of the story? What if a crucial sense, one just as real, has been forgotten, dismissed, or hidden in plain sight? For centuries, civilizations across the world hinted at this missing piece. Ancient texts spoke of a sacred eye that sees beyond the visible. Mystics described a sense attuned to unseen energies, and philosophers questioned whether our perception was as limited as it seems. And yet, here we are, in the modern age, still measuring our reality by what our 5 senses can grasp. We trust the world science confirms and struggle to explain those moments when instinct, intuition, or a sudden knowing breaks through the noise. Moments where you simply feel something without knowing why, as if sensing a pattern or presence your conscious mind can't quite decode. Could it be that buried deep within us is a hidden sense, one science is only beginning to glimpse, an ancient wisdom never forgot? A sense that helps us navigate not just the physical world, but the invisible threads connecting us to everything, to each other, to the universe, to something greater. What if the missing piece has been here all along, influencing your choices, your connections, your very sense of reality, quietly shaping your life without you even knowing it? In this exploration, we'll trace this mystery through ancient civilizations, spiritual teachings, and the frontier of neuroscience and quantum theory. What you discover may change how you see yourself and reality itself. Welcome to Beyond Reality, where we explore the mysteries hiding in plain sight. If you're drawn to questions like this, consider subscribing. It helps us keep diving deeper into the unknown together. By the end of this journey, you might realize that you've been sensing far more than you ever imagined. For as long as humans have wondered about their place in the universe, there's been this lingering sense that something is missing from how we understand ourselves. A forgotten capacity, hinted at in the oldest myths and sacred symbols, suggesting perception runs deeper than sight or sound. The Egyptians carved it into stone. Their Eye of Horus wasn't just protection or a royal emblem. Embedded in its design was a map of human senses. 6 parts, not 5, each representing a power of perception. Some researchers have even noticed its shape mirrors the anatomy of the human brain. To them, this was never just an eye, but a symbol of an inner faculty, a way of seeing beyond physical sight. Thousands of miles east, ancient Hindu traditions describe the Ajna chakra, the so-called third eye, seated between the brows. Not an organ of flesh, but a center of insight and intuition. A portal, they believe, to perceiving the world as it truly is, free from illusion. Yogic texts spoke of unlocking this eye through meditation, awakening a dormant sense capable of glimpsing realities the body alone cannot grasp. Buddhist teachings too spoke of the divine eye, a perception gained not through birth but through discipline and spiritual awakening. With it came the ability to see the unfolding of karma, to understand the impermanence of life, and to witness what remains hidden to ordinary vision. Across these cultures, separated by oceans and centuries, there's a pattern. A recurring belief that humans were born with access to something more, a sense attuned not just to the world of form, but to energy, to thought, to what some might call the unseen. Yet, as history marched forward, these ideas slowly receded. The rise of material science in the West demanded proof, evidence that could be measured, dissected, replicated. Anything else was labeled superstition. And so, the conversation around perception narrowed. It became a study of optics, acoustics, chemical receptors, all vital, all real, but perhaps incomplete. Still, remnants of that older knowledge never fully disappeared. The phrase gut feeling remains part of our language. We speak of instinct, of reading a room, of sensing when something is wrong without knowing why. Most people have felt it. That quiet knowing, that flash of understanding that arrives without logic or reason. Perhaps the ancients weren't imagining a mystical power, but describing a natural human ability, one science had yet to recognize. A hidden sense designed to detect subtle changes, energetic shifts, or signals most of us have been conditioned to ignore. And if that's true, it raises a simple, unsettling question. What are we missing by forgetting this part of ourselves? Because what's been lost might not be some magical power, but an inherent sense, dulled by centuries of neglect, that once guided us through a world far richer and stranger than we allow ourselves to believe. The question of this hidden sense lingers in the background of human history, but it wasn't until science turned inward, peering into the architecture of the human brain, that a possible biological link began to emerge. At the very center of the brain, nestled between the two hemispheres, lies the pineal gland. Small, pinecone-shaped, and strangely positioned, it's been called many things: a vestigial organ, a light sensor, even the seat of the soul. What science knows for certain is that the pineal gland regulates melatonin, controlling our sleep-wake cycles. It responds to light, guiding our circadian rhythms like an internal clock. Yet, despite this defined role, its deeper purpose remains an open question. Long before modern medicine, philosophers speculated about this gland's significance. René Descartes described it as the place where the soul and body meet. To him, this wasn't just another organ, it was a bridge. Modern research added a new layer to the mystery. Studies revealed that the pineal gland contains calcite microcrystals, tiny structures remarkably similar to those found in the inner ear, where they help us detect balance and movement. What makes these crystals intriguing isn't their shape or size, but their potential properties. Under the right conditions, calcite is piezoelectric. It can generate an electrical charge when subjected to mechanical stress or electromagnetic fields. This means, in theory, that the pineal gland could be sensitive to forces we don't consciously perceive, fields, vibrations, or signals surrounding us all the time. Some scientists have gone further, proposing that this gland might act as a biological antenna, capable of detecting subtle environmental changes or even interacting with electromagnetic fields. Though this remains a hypothesis, the implications are hard to ignore. Adding another layer, researchers exploring the quantum nature of consciousness have turned their attention to the brain's microstructures, including microtubules inside neurons. According to the Orchestrated Objective Reduction Theory, or ORCH-OR, these microtubules could be the stage where quantum processes unfold, giving rise to conscious experience itself. Developed by physicists Roger Penrose and anesthesiologist Stuart Hameroff, the theory suggests that consciousness isn't just a byproduct of neural firing patterns, but emerges from quantum computations deep within these cellular structures. If true, it points to a kind of perception rooted not just in biology, but in the fundamental rules of the universe. The pineal gland's central location, its unique composition, and its ancient spiritual significance place it at the crossroads of these ideas. A structure with both biological purpose and theoretical potential to tap into realms science is only beginning to understand. While mainstream neuroscience still treats the quantum model of consciousness as speculative, studies continue. Anesthesia research, for instance, has shown that substances affecting consciousness seem to act directly on microtubules, lending subtle support to the theory that something deeper is happening at the quantum level. What remains undeniable is that the pineal gland, so small, so overlooked, holds a unique place in both ancient mysticism and modern inquiry. Its mysteries endure not because of what we know, but because of what remains just out of reach. A reminder that within us may lie a capacity we've yet to fully name or understand. One connected not just to light and sleep, but perhaps to the very nature of consciousness itself. Hidden senses aren't always silent. Sometimes they surface as instincts we trust without evidence, that unshakable feeling that something is right or deeply wrong. Science often labels it pattern recognition or gut reaction, but those terms barely scratch the surface of what's happening inside us. Recent studies on the gut-brain axis reveal a dense web of neurons running through the digestive system. So intricate it's earned the name the second brain. This neural network produces neurotransmitters, communicates with the brain through the vagus nerve, and influences emotions, decision-making, even our sense of connection. What we call a gut feeling might be exactly that, a physiological signal rising from an ancient sensory system built to read the world in ways we no longer understand. Layered on top of that, there's growing evidence humans respond, often unconsciously, to electromagnetic fields. In controlled environments, brainwave patterns have shifted in response to magnetic changes. Though we don't perceive these fields like birds or sea turtles, something in us registers them. Some researchers believe cryptochrome proteins in the eye or magnetically sensitive structures in the brain might still carry dormant abilities, remnants of a time when navigating the planet demanded more than sight or sound. If the pineal gland plays a role in that sensitivity, not just regulating sleep, but interacting with electromagnetic or quantum fields, it might help explain moments of connection that defy logic. That deep sense of knowing, the eerie feeling of synchronicity. Those times we experience the world not as separate individuals, but as part of a larger, unseen system moving around us. Across spiritual traditions, this idea appears again and again. That consciousness is not confined within our skulls, but extends outward, bound to something vast. Some call it the collective unconscious, others the quantum field. Different words, same recognition. We are part of something we struggle to measure, but instinctively feel. Modern theories like panpsychism even suggest consciousness is a fundamental feature of the universe, not an emergent property of the brain, but a quality embedded in reality itself. If that's true, it reframes the search for a hidden sense. Instead of hunting for a missing organ or a mystical power, we might be rediscovering a connection that was always there, quiet, persistent, waiting for us to notice. For centuries, humans have tried to name this feeling: intuition, sixth sense, inner knowing. Yet naming it doesn't change the fact that most of us have experienced it, standing in the presence of something bigger, feeling guided by forces we can't see. Science is only now beginning to catch up, offering language and models to describe what people have felt for millennia. Maybe this is why the idea of a hidden sense refuses to die. It's not just mythology or superstition, it's part of being human. A quiet reminder that the world is far stranger, far more connected than the five senses can show. We carry that sense still. Beneath logic, under reason, it waits. Sometimes it rises as a warning, other times as wonder. But it's always there, proof that no matter how far we advance, part of us still belongs to the mystery. Some mysteries stay with us, not because they can't be solved, but because they remind us how much remains unseen. This hidden sense, whatever name we give it, threads through human history, science, and personal experience like a quiet current we're only beginning to trace. It isn't just folklore or ancient symbolism. It's found in the architecture of the brain, in the crystalline structures deep within us, in the subtle ways our bodies respond to forces we barely notice. Maybe that's why it feels so familiar when it rises. A forgotten instinct stirring in the background, reminding us that perception is more than sight or sound. Across time, people have reached for it through prayer, meditation, or moments of stillness, where the noise of the world fades just enough for something else to come through, a glimpse of connection, a flash of knowing. The sense that we are not isolated points in a vast, indifferent universe, but participants in something far more intricate. Whether through science or spirit, the search continues. Not to explain everything, but to remember what has always been there. The quiet knowledge that reality runs deeper than what we measure. In the end, perhaps the greatest discovery isn't out there waiting to be found, but resting within us. Patient, silent, ready. A reminder that our senses are not limits, but thresholds. And on the other side, there is more. If you're drawn to questions like these, consider subscribing to our channel. There's so much more waiting, and we'll be right here when you're ready to go deeper. Thanks for watching.